So I want to start with a question. When someone lands on your profile, your page, your content somewhere, do they know within seconds exactly who you are, who you serve, and why you? Not generally for most people. They maybe aren't specific and unmistakable in their messaging. But here's the thing, the reason they're not specific is because that answer, or the absence of it, is driving your results right now more than anything else. And the reason that it's not landing is because we are in a market where attention is the scarcest resource there is. Your ideal client is scrolling past hundreds of pieces of content every single day. And she or he is not stopping to figure out if you might be for them. They stop when something hits them and stops them. And then they say, yes, this, I want to know more. This might be for me. And that only happens when you have a clear, bold stand on who you are and who you serve. Taking a stand is not a branding exercise. It's a business growth strategy. And when I break down why it works, it comes down to one thing. A clear stand attracts buyers, and a vague positioning statement attracts browsers. Let me tell you what I mean by that distinction, because I think it's important. A browser is someone who finds your content interesting. Maybe they follow you. Maybe they like your posts. They might open your emails, right? But they just don't buy. They consume because your content is good. But nothing you're saying is speaking directly to their situation or maybe to their identity. So they don't see themselves working with you, and they don't see the outcome, the reason clearly enough to take the next step. Now, a buyer is someone who lands on your content and feels found, not just interested, recognized. They feel like you're speaking directly to them and wonder, what might it be like to work with this person? That feeling of being found, of recognition, is what a stand creates. And it's the difference between an audience that grows and an audience that converts to clients. I've built multi six-figure years in this business. And when I look back at what actually moved the needle, it was every time I got more specific, more bold, more willing to say exactly who I was for and let everyone else self-select out. It felt counterintuitive every single time, but it worked. So, how do you build a stand that actually functions as a growth strategy? There are 3 elements I look at with my clients, and tomorrow we're going to work through all 3 of these pieces. The first is why your values are so important. So, not the practical story of how you got here, but the real reason, what you believe, what you value, what you stand for in the world. Why, of all the businesses that you could do, all the ways that you could make money, even maybe not in business, why did you choose this? When I ask that client that question and you look deeper, you're going to discover your important why. And that is what you stand for. I take my clients through a framework called the E Code. The C stands for core values that we're talking about, because that's where everything starts. That's your platform. It's your stand. And when your positioning is built on your actual values, it doesn't feel like a marketing strategy. It feels like an expression of who you are. And that's what makes it land differently with the right person. So I chose this work because I was a single mom with 4 kids and a deep, slightly stubborn belief that women should be able to make money, build something that they wanted to build, and raise their children without working more than, 8 hours a day, without shrinking or settling or waiting for permission from someone else. And that's the value underneath everything I teach. My number one core value is freedom. Number two is self expression. I help people create freedom by expressing who they are, expressing their values. And the women who are meant to work with me can feel that immediately. They don't need me to convince them of anything because they already recognize themselves in it. And then the second element is specifically about who she is, not a demographic, not an avatar with a made up name, a real woman or man, depending on who you coach, with a real situation at a certain point in their journey where your work meets their need. And the more specifically you can describe them, let's talk about women, her experience, her frustration, what she's tried, what she wants, the more powerfully she will feel found when she lands on your content. And a woman who feels found is a woman who buys. The third element is conviction. Conviction in how you say it. Because you can have the right message and still not take a stand if you're softening it, hedging a little bit, qualifying it. Taking a stand means saying the thing the way you actually believe it without an apology at the end. And this is where a lot of women get stuck. They know that what they believe is true, but they're afraid to say it that directly. Afraid it'll be too much, too specific, too polarizing. What I want you to consider is that the directness is exactly what your buyer is looking for. She's tired of vague. She's looking for the woman who will say it plainly, and she'll follow that woman anywhere. Here's what I see happen when a woman pulls these three things together and takes a real stand. Her content stops being something she has to think about and starts being an expression of something she already knows deeply. Her conversations with potential clients get easier because she's no longer trying to convince anyone. She's simply describing what she does and letting the right people step forward to her. And her sales move because the women on the other end of those conversations already feel like they've found their person before the conversation even starts. I had a client who had been running workshops at low price point for about a year. She was a certified coach, brilliant, consistent. She's doing everything right on the surface, but her message was broad because she was afraid to narrow it down because her work could help everyone. You've heard the saying, right? When you speak to everyone, no one hears you. And so when we did this work, when she got clear on her values and built her stand from that place, things started to shift. She moved from low priced workshops to consistent high ticket months. The offer barely changed. The stand changed. And the stand changed who was showing up and how ready they were. And that's the growth strategy. It's not that taking a stand feels good. I mean, it does. It can feel scary because you're being so real. You can feel, the energy underneath that. But it's that it fluctuates as the most efficient targeting system that you have. It pre-qualifies your audience. It brings your buyers to you rather than just browsers coming in. And it compounds over time because every piece of content you put out is building something clear. It's a recognizable position in your market. So tomorrow in the growth, in the Take a Stand shift, we're going to work through this exact thing. We're going to look at where you're currently maybe hedging in your positioning, how you can change that. We're going to build your stand from your values up. So you're coming from a real place and not just the practical story you're telling or explaining. And we're going to practice saying it with conviction, the conviction that it deserves, because that's how people can find you. And how you say it is part of the strategy. So if you're already in the Curate membership, I'll see you tomorrow. If you're not there yet, then this is a really good time to get in. It's $79 for the entire year. We do these trainings every single week, monthly trainings, real working sessions, the actual substance of building a business that attracts the right people and brings you the clients you want. So I'll drop the link below and come join me and be ready to take a stand. I'll see you then. Bye for now.